good day, Taylor. Welcome to another From the Mayor's Desk with Mayor Tim Woolley. I'm Carl Zymak, and I'll be your host today. Tim, how's the summer going? Before we know it, it's going to be snowing again.
Yeah, it's going good. It's going quick, actually.
Let's dive right into the deep end because we've got several pages of questions here for you. In early August, the city hosted the 43rd annual Junior League World Series in Heritage Park. This is the World Championship tournament in baseball for 13 and 14-year-olds. Taylor North was again the home host team for the fourth year running. Impressions?
I thought it was great. You know, It was definitely a hot week. I can tell you that. And I think talking with Dan, I think he said it was the first time that we did not get one drop of rain that he can ever remember during the entire week.
Isn't that amazing?
So everything went on schedule. There was no rain delays at all. So, and then I do remember, I think they said opening day attendance was a record this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great tournament. Like I said, it was a little toasty out there. And, there was a few days, it was like, whew.
It was like an oven, but I remember Jablonski, the first baseman catcher for Texas, the left-handed hitter. It was funny because we had a Fox News interviewer come out to the park, and they wanted to interview some of the kids, and we grabbed Jablonski because I knew him, okay, and during the interview, they were asking him, what's the differences between Texas and Michigan? And he goes, well, I really love Michigan because it's a lot cooler here.
Yeah, I can attest for that. I lived in Texas, and it was one of the hottest places I'd ever been in my life. And
those are old Fort Bragg stores?
Fort Hood, actually.
Fort Hood, excuse me.
So when that was the one, I almost considered staying in Texas. I got a good job offer when I got out, and that was the one main factor that, I just couldn't handle the heat there.
Now, if I don't ask this question, there's going to be all these people out there who are going to want to know the answer to it. What job offer did you get?
So when I got out of the Army, they had civil service jobs basically, and you did work on the base. As a civilian, but you kept your military time, which was good. So it was a good paying job, and I got offered that, and me and Amy, I kind of really thought and considered it because I love the people. I loved the cost of living was great down there. The food was good down there. The hunting and fishing was great down. I liked everything.
It's right up your alley.
It was, but man, that heat. Whew, and the worst part was when I first got down there, I had an 82 Ford Escort with gray with black interior with no air conditioning.
Oh my.
And you talk about long traffic lights, man, I was almost dying every time I got stuck at a red light. That's where somebody's got to assist pulling you out. I remember going, God, please change. Please change, And so, but I enjoyed Texas. It was hot, though. I honestly can say that when I went over to Saudi Arabia and Iraq, I thought Texas was hotter.
I have to, one more thing on the Junior League World Series. I have to believe you've got to take great pride in. The volunteer effort to make that tournament go is it's amazing. Everywhere you turn, you run into another volunteer who's got specific things. I know I dealt personally because I was at the press box almost every day, and I dealt personally with a lot of the grounds crew and stuff. Those guys are so unbelievably dedicated.
It is. It's so impressive, and I give Dan credit, Dan Mazura, who's the director, and him and his team, and then everybody else. They're all volunteers, and Taylor North has joined in on that. You've taken a much bigger role this year.
It was fun. So, I have to admit. But I mean, even up in that press box, it was toasty up there. So, but just to watch the grounds crew, there had to be 15, 20 people out there, and they're all there on their own time and stuff. So it's great to see, and I do take pride in that, and I think everybody does. It's great to see the community. Some people even come in from other states to do it. Umpires, and but even some people just come in to volunteer, in different areas and stuff, and which is really cool.
It is. It's great. I think it's nice. There can be a little drama here and there. People get on each other's nerves when they spend 15 hours a day and 90 plus degree. But Dan's really good, and his team is. keeping the peace, and then everybody looks forward to seeing each other again after
Well,
a couple weeks.
if it's exactly.
They need that couple week hiatus afterwards and stuff.
Well, I have to admit, if it's, watching the people, and you're right, sometimes you get on each other's nerves, you say the wrong thing. If it's one guy who does keep such an even keel, is Dan.
That's why
Dan sat next to me so much during the World Series, and it's like, oh yeah, I heard that before.
That's why he's right next to me all the time.
Don't let him get to you.
He's my voice of reason. I wish I had his mantra. I really do, and that's what makes him who he is. And I used to be the president of a nonprofit, Victory Gym, and we were all volunteers. And volunteers can sometimes be a handful, but you need them.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. So it's it can be a.
Well, I know behind the scenes there's been some talk of applying for a state of Michigan grant to possibly improve and take that Junior League World Series complex to the next level. I know James DeSena, our state rep, a baseball guy through and through, was part of that discussion at times. Can you give us any insight into where they may be going? Because that's got to cross over with the city.
Yeah, there's been a lot of the last couple of years. Even we've had Senator Geis has been a huge advocate. Senator Camilleri. A lot of them came last year to kind of look around and got to see how many people come to this event, and it's not only a worldwide event. People from all over the world come here, but there's people from all over the region that come here to watch this. And it doesn't just affect Taylor, it affects the entire downriver area. Now the kids are staying in hotels in Romulus. Kids go down to the Tiger game, so they're going down to Detroit. A lot of them go out to Ann Arbor while they're here and stuff. So it affects the region. And what we're trying to say is, hey, we really want to make this a World Series park, and we think the state should look at this to see what it brings in every year for the last 45 years. And I mean, there's still people out there, so we want more and more people to see this and what it does. And we've heard some of the projects that the state has given money to, and we're kind of saying, hey, look what this does.
Right.
Representative DeSena kind of led the charge this year and stuff. So, I mean, we've even reached out to Pure Michigan. Hey, that wouldn't be bad to put one of these on a commercial, and stuff.
Yeah.
And we've reached out with the Detroit Chamber and everything, and so we're looking at many different avenues, and we're even kind of talking with Little League as well, because we usually get 2 or 3 year commitments on this. So okay, you're going to host the tournament for another 3 years.
Right.
But if we invest this kind of money in a park, we would like a longer term commitment. And we would also like Little League to throw some money in too.
Right.
And as a city, we would have to see, okay, what all the players are willing to do and what we could actually afford as well. So, those talks are continuing right now, and it's nice that both Republicans and Democrats are behind it, and it seems like the House and the Senate's behind it. So,
it's baseball.
It's baseball, man. It's everybody loves baseball, and if you're definitely representing Taylor, you better love baseball. That's kind of keeps moving, and hopefully we get some good news, and then. If that was the case, then we definitely are going to have those communications with Little League, because we'd like to see them definitely step up, and stuff. And
I didn't have this question down, but I'll throw it to you anyways,
Sure.
because you have a lot of background here. Did you, a few years ago when you were on council, so much talk around merging these, the some of the Little League affiliates that we had and stuff like that. It ended up 3 merged into Taylor North. A lot of people looked at it and crossed their eyes, kind of. Do you ever think they'd get to this point? Because that merger has been an amazing
Carl,
success.
I wish they'd done it when I was coaching. I absolutely knew that this, when I was coaching, with me and Lanny coached together forever, if we had done this when, we were just trying to get the other 3 leagues to combine somewhat, and it was usually only 2 leagues or something like that, and we won a state in 07, went to regionals, didn't play nowhere near. That was qualifying for the 12-year-old, the big one at Williamsport. But yeah, there's there's a talent around here of baseball. I don't know what it is, and I remember when I used to coach, I had one lady from, I was walking around in my, we were Taylor Northwest at the time.
Right.
And the lady, I'm pretty sure it was a lady from Melvindale. She's like, I got to ask, do you guys teach kids how to swing a bat when they're born, and stuff, and it's just for some reason, Taylor produces good baseball players, and stuff. And it's, I'm glad to see it, and I really thought, going down to one high school, it would really help us as well. But, kids go to other districts and stuff like that, so.
Well, whole different note. Former Judge Bill Sutherland passed away recently at 85. Bill was a tremendous figure in this community, the longest serving judge in Michigan history, part of the original Charter Commission. His name's on the court building along with Anthony Nicita. Thoughts on that?
Judge Sutherland was such a great guy, and I can tell you he was always just so kind to me. I remember, this kind of touched me. I remember seeing something I think he posted on Facebook about his passing. And I just saw one comment and said, sorry for his passing. He put me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So, apparently somebody had went in front of him. And I was kind of lucky, when I got jury duty. I got selected for jury duty when I was younger. I always got Taylor. I never had to go downtown. So 9 times out of 10, I was in, the court, I shouldn't say this, but they were plea bargains and I wasn't there long and all that other stuff. So, but it was always Judge Sutherland's, courtroom. But he would come out and he would explain things and always just so nice. But the one time was, I can't quite remember, but I just remember somebody coming in and, he was such a nice, calm, but stern.
Right.
And this one person came in shorts. And he was like, "What are you wearing?" And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "What are you wearing?" And he's like, "Well, I got shorts and a t-shirt on." He said, "Did you not read on the form that you are to dress appropriately, and basically let this guy up, and he's like, "You're going to leave my courtroom and you're going to come back here when you're better dressed and more prepared for court." And the guy was just looking at him like, are you serious? And he's like, I'm not joking. You will come back here, and so, but he was a fierce, stern guy. It was funny because Charlie made the joke the other day that Bill Sutherland looked exactly the same when he was a little kid until the day he passed, and it was the truth, he got a little thinner over the years, but, just such a sweet guy. And just a quick story, like I didn't know him. I definitely knew of him and Judge Nicita both, but I didn't get to know these gentlemen until I got involved in counsel. But when I got put on counsel, I wanted to sit in every department and learn everything because I didn't know a lot, and so I took it serious and I made an appointment and I can't remember who his clerk was at the time. So I went over there and I sat in his courtroom a little bit and then he invited me back into his chambers and he's like, I just want to tell you, he goes, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. He says, but son, the fact that you care enough to come over here and learn and talk to me about how things, he goes, I can't remember the last time a politician was over here, or somebody, and he's like, you will have my support as long as you, as long, and he was just, we had such a great, and ever since then, me and him had a really great relationship, and he had that real subtle sense of humor, like sometimes you're like, you didn't expect it, and stuff, but just a tremendous loss, and, he was definitely a pillar of this community, him and Judge Nicita both, and when you put somebody's name on a building, that shows you, and Judge Nicita is 96, and I still see him at Rotary from time to time, and he's getting up there, but he's still a wealth of knowledge. Both of them just had so much history here,
And Tony is still sharp as a tack.
Oh, he is? Yeah, every time I sit, everywhere I go, even at Judge Sutherland's, they had they had a service and then they had a thing at the Knights of Columbus Forum, kind of like a celebration of life. I sat next to Judge Nicita and I just love listening to his stories,
He's a fun guy to talk to.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't make them like that
anymore.
There's just no doubt about that. The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, as they're commonly known by, is awarding a $1 million grant to the redevelopment of an unregulated landfill in northern Taylor, the Metro 94 Commerce Park project. The nearly 74-acre site at 6775 Inkster Road contains a dump historically known as the Beverly Road landfill, or Beverly Road dump. It was used in the 50s or the 60s and 70s, has been vacant since. Site assessments found PCBs, methane, metals, all type of things on that site. The Brownfield redevelopment grant will pay for further site assessments, field monitoring, things like that. The City of Taylor Eagle and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation have approved approximately $14 million in tax increment financing to pay for other work, including a barrier to prevent contact and thing. Redevelopment plans eventually call for the construction of an approximate, about a 500,000 square foot industrial building. Project is expected to draw $75 million in capital investment, create an estimate 185 full-time jobs, and it's going to be done in 2027. You grew up in that area. You were originally against the plan overall, but now you've been a big supporter. What's your take on all of this with this grant coming up? Naturally, the grant is a positive.
Well, I think it's impressive, and it shows why Ashley Capital is so good at what they do on these types of sites. They know how to go in and clean these types of sites, build on these types of sites, and find things out there that help them accomplish some of their goals. I can tell you from a standpoint. Back in the day, that site was called the Field or Suicide. It was called basically because there was a couple hills in the back that you could either ride your bike down or sled down, and they were so steep that it was kind of suicide to go down them and stuff. So it's just some old school knowledge there. But Ashley's been really good to work with. And like I had said a couple times, now. They knew that there was certain things that I was a little iffy on, and that's why I was kind of against it a little bit. But when I got in, they kind of asked me what those were, and they addressed those, which I thought was really cool, and it was just a matter of moving the building back a little bit, the berm, and the one thing I really like is even now those residents will reach out and say, hey, they're doing this, and they have a contact, and I can reach out to that contact, and he instantly either gets back with me or reaches out directly to that resident. And I think that I appreciate that, and because those residents are looking over there, and they should be, because it is a landfill at one point, and in some areas they're digging up to put some infrastructure in and stuff, and those residents wanted to say, hey, but they had to put it on top. And actually, whatever they dug, they had to haul it out of there. But then they had to wait on Eagle permits, to haul it out of there, which sometimes took a little long, and they were concerned that stuff was going to blow. So there were some legit concerns and stuff. And but they've been really good, and they've actually even taken some of those residents back there and showed them different things that they're doing and everything. So at the end of the day, when they're all done, that site is actually going to be safer. And
yeah, that's the positive thing here.
And there's still. The biggest thing, I think the biggest concern is that the traffic in the neighborhood. And, none of that traffic is going to go in the neighborhood. There's an emergency entrance exit that comes out on the Beverly, but that is the only one that holds that key is our fire department. We will definitely be monitoring to make sure that there's no, when you punch in a GPS sometimes, we want to make sure that that doesn't bring people through the neighborhood or any of that stuff.
Sure.
So once that gets rolling, but with MDOT and I think DUA's putting a big water pipe through there on Inkster Road and stuff. They're getting a light put in right there too. So that's actually going to help. Growing up in that neighborhood, Inkster Road's got so much traffic, literally coming off of Beverly onto Inkster, it's become a handful. It literally has. And plus you have a school right there.
Right,
Hoover,
exactly.
So I think that light would be much needed for people to be able to either go across Inkster, that take Beverly, that's kind of a back doorway to the airport, and then, so I think that'll safeten that area up a little bit. you know.
Well, I remember when both you and Dan Bazura were on council. I know Danny went out and he went to some of the other sites.
Yeah, he went out to, I think, is it Ferndale, the one, or Hazel Park? I think
Hazel Park was one, because that was the racetrack
I think him
site.
and Angie went out that way and checked it out and stuff, and yeah.
Got positive feedback on what they do, because it's, you know, I think you're experiencing what other communities have experienced already, which is they do follow up and they do what they say they're going to do.
And what they do is they go out there and they look for federal money for these types of sites and stuff, and they've, you know, Kyle reached out to me and he said, hey, I think we're going to land this grant for, you know, a big grant to help with that, and I'm, you know, hey, that's good for you, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Taylor Summer Festival was a resounding success in late June. What were your takeaways, other than you were kind of a mini celebrity during that? We'll get into that.
It was nice. I thought it went really well. You know, I always look at it from a safety perspective. You know, that's always my biggest, you know, I get a little antsy around that time. You know, but I thought as a whole, no arrests. That's what I always strive for, you know, no fights, you know, or anything like that. You know, a couple times the carnival got a little full and stuff like that, but you know, again, everybody was nice and well behaved, which is great. I thought all the concerts were awesome. It was a little toasty, again, a little warm, you know, so hydration was the biggest. You know, I think we had a couple, you know, people that got a little overheated. But as a whole, you know, our sponsorship was down a little bit this year. That was probably the only negative thing, you know. But other than that, I was really happy with everything, and I loved both nights of the concerts and stuff. But yeah, that was pretty funny. I would have never expected wearing a certain T-shirt would blow up.
Well, tell us about that, because you and Sebastian Bach really started hitting it off.
Well, you know, it's funny, you know, Carl, everybody, you know, that knows me, and most people that don't know my love for rock and heavy metal music and stuff, and I've been an avid concert goer since the early 80s, you know, and that's why I don't hear that well. But I decided, you know, hey, I'm going to a rock show. I'm wearing my Iron Maiden T-shirt, you know, that I took my son to. But I saw Iron Maiden quite a few times back in the 80s. And when Sebastian come walking up, the promoter was like, hey, you know, Mayor Sebastian, you know, and Sebastian was here a few years ago, and I was able to meet him when I was on council. And he was super nice. And and there's things out there that Sebastian can be a little, you know, hit or miss sometimes, you know, and so you never know what you're going to get sometimes. And he instantly saw my shirt and he's like, wait a minute, you're the mayor and you're wearing an Iron Man. He grabbed me, you know, and it was just, you know, it was really cool. And that's just one of those things, you know, I was a big Skid Row fan back in the day. And so, you know, sometimes you're like, man, this is a pinch me moment, you know, and for him to be on stage and giving me those shout outs and stuff. And I didn't even realize when he invited me up on stage, I was helping a gentleman that was overheated get a water. So not that I would have went up there anyway, but he just kept making references. And at the one point, I just went up and kind of gave him a high five at the beginning. You know, it was kind of embarrassing me a little bit. But, you know, that was just awesome, you know, when somebody that you've idolized and looked up, you know, kind of enjoyed their music. And what was really cool is when the band that went on afterwards, I'm drawing a blank here. Who went on after him?
Geez, this is terrible. I'm
bad here too. Hinder. Yeah, Hinder was.
Joe helps us out.
Thanks, Joe. Hinder went on afterwards. You know, Sebastian and the band came out and watched them perform, and so we were all standing there just talking, and it's just nice to have those casual conversations with somebody that you enjoyed growing up watching and listening to, and it was just. And he was taking pictures with everybody, and he was just nothing but pleasant the whole time. Every encounter I've ever had with the guy, he was great. But he did have like one technical issue, and I'm like, uh-oh, and I was very happy that it wasn't us, you know, our stuff, you know. But other than that, I thought it was a great both nights, and you know, Eva Under Fire. For them to headline that night was incredible. That night was great, you know, and that was just like local bands with you know, a good entry fee, and that was a pretty successful night. We looked at that and went, wow, that was a good
tells
night.
You something right there, doesn't it?
You know, so
Well, the changeover in some of our promotional techniques and stuff brought on a new stage and a new atmosphere. Talk about amazing!
Yeah, that was very impressive. Yeah, the new team we brought in this year, very, very happy with. You know, as far as the promoter, that the stage ran the back behind the stage stuff, very, very impressive. And you know, the team that helped us get the talent. So this year we went from one person doing everything to basically two. We have the person that finds us the talent, and then we have the person that once they get here, they got the stage set up, they got, you know, the back all set up and the trailers for all the talent and everything and stuff. So well-oiled machine this year. It was very impressive. Guido and his team were very, because we've taken on a lot of it as well.
Right.
So, but it was really, it was great, you know, and it's, I kind of get nervous because over the years they've been running very, very well. You know, I think the last two we've had zero rest, you know, and for a long weekend with thousands of people. And I don't know about you, but I thought that firework display was really great. And, you know, Guido kind of tipped me off. We upped it a little bit, and we were able to get, I guess, Disney overbought fireworks or something, so we were able to get some like Disney specific fireworks and stuff. So yeah, I was very, very impressed. I like a good, you know, you know, grand finale of fireworks, and I thought that was pretty cool.
And it seemed like a lot of people said the same thing. The people that were watching really were, you know, it was like, boy, the Taylor fireworks is usually well received. This one was even more well received. But I gotta throw this at you. We gonna see another drone show somewhere down there?
You know,
they're expensive.
That's the biggest issue, Carl. I'm hoping they come down in price. You know, you know, those things are like $40,000.
Right.
You know, and you know, we had a donor that did the one, and this year we didn't have that. So, you know, and plus our sponsorship was down a little bit. So. Unless we get a huge sponsor specifically for that, we would do a drone show night and then a fireworks show.
Right.
But that would be the only way, just because of the price. Unless it comes down drastically, it seems like more and more companies are starting to do that. So I'm hoping that will lower the cost a little bit. But yeah, it's you know, no guarantees. But unless somebody says, hey, we want to specifically sponsor a drone show. And I've even said, hey, if that means we got to spell out the name of the company and the drones, I'm willing to do that. If they want to put up $35,000, $40,000 to put on a drone show, they can put their name on it. You know,
you mentioned no incidents surrounding the festival, and that has been going on for several years now. What do you make of that? Are we really doing anything differently, or is it
a large presence? A large presence. Okay. We have a lot of, and this is where teamwork comes in. You know, so what we do is we have our police department, and then other departments come in and volunteer. So we have many different departments walking around in many different uniforms, and what they do is they don't charge us. Their departments, you know, cover them. And what we do the same thing. So like if, say, you know, that we have county officers here, and if a county has a big event, we send officers to there, you know, and stuff. So it's kind of a trade-off type thing, you know, and we greatly appreciate it, and it definitely helps. And you know what else helps is those little drones flying around in the sky. So literally there was a group looking like they might be, and what did we do? We had a drone flying right over top of them. You know, and that makes them look up and say, oh, now we're on camera a little bit, and we better, you know, so technology can be a good thing as well.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And, you know, I didn't have this in our questions originally, but I have to admit, because I got this feedback back during the Junior League World Series, but I'm sure it transcends to a lot of the other events like our summer festival. The fact that we've put the trail lighting in and that it's so nice, that hits people, especially people who have been to Heritage Park before and now are back, and they're noticing there's something really different about this, and it's that, oh, we've got all these lights here, you know.
Carl, that's when it really hit me, you know, is going to the World Series, and then once they shut the lights off, how dark it was back there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it was like, man, it's pitch black back here, you know, and it was, you know, And a lot of people use Heritage Park. A lot of people like to walk Heritage Park, but there was no way people should be walking back there with it that dark out and stuff. So, you know, that what really got me on the ball about lighting the back of the park. And when I was on council, that was something, you know, when we talked about, hey, you know, when we had those open, you know, to discuss what we should use money for CD, you know, or, hey, let's light, you know. So when I got in here, that was something that I wanted to do, and me and Guido sat down and we were able to do it, and it's something that makes me smile every time I drive through there and at night and I see a light on, and it kind of like, yeah, it's not as dark back here, and we're hoping to do that maybe in a couple other parks, you know, not maybe not as many lights, you know, or something, but just to light it up a little bit.
Well, certainly, I'll tell you, residents notice it. I mean, park goers notice it. They appreciate it, and I think that's a really big upgrade. Speaking of other upgrades, well, no, let's start with Hallapalooza, because that's next on the schedule here, and that is one of your favorite events.
My favorites. It's a long day, but it's my favorite. My back and my feet are sore.
Well, I was going to say, are you going to give us any kind of insight into what you're dressing?
You know what? I literally
year?
said to Kimber and Michelle, hey, we got to sit down and figure out what we're doing this year, you know. So.
What were you guys last year?
Last year we were Jurassic Park.
Okay,
you know, I was dressed up as the Doctor, and Michelle and Kimber were the dinosaurs, you know, so it was pretty funny, and I think we did Star Wars the year before, so we'll have to figure something.
Well, you guys will have fun with that.
Or no, we were Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters,
and then it was Star Wars the year before that.
You know, a tremendous amount of construction going on, which I know it's in your ear just like it's in my ear on a constant basis, being in communications. We've got the Telegraph Bridges project that has been going on for a year and a half now, nearing completion. We've got Telegraph Road, which kind of took us all a little off guard with panel replacement. That's been moving fairly quickly. For that. I mean, it can't move quickly enough. We've got Eureka Way, Frankenpoa Drain culverts starting in September. That's going to be a pretty big project to enclose those culverts. And then we've got North Line Road between Racco and Telegraph also coming up in September. I think that's a Wayne County issue. I had one that I forgot to write on here, and that's the Superior Road improvements. All at the same time.
So, Carl, that's, you know, unfortunately, you know, summertime in Michigan is construction time. However, I didn't expect August to be. So when we sit down, we as a city, we kind of try to coordinate what our projects are going to be, based on approvals, based on how much money we're doing in cement, based on how much money we have here and there. So then we try to reach out to the county or MDOT and say, hey, do you have any scheduled projects in Taylor? Sometimes we get no, you know, and I don't like to hear that.
Yeah.
But I want to be very clear that anytime MDOT or the county does work in the city of Taylor, I'm happy. I'm happy. But communication and notification is a good thing. Like, you know as well as I do, because as soon as we find out, we give it to you to get on the thing. So Telegraph.
Right.
Hey, we're doing panel replacement on northbound Telegraph starting on this day, which was, I think, 2 weeks notice maybe. So it was like, okay. And as soon as we put that out there, the next day they're putting all the barrels on southbound.
Yes, exactly.
So we had to retract what we had put out there that they had sent us to change it that. So, okay, we're thinking they're going to do southbound, and they start cutting, and then they start breaking up, and then on that Friday, they start putting barrels on northbound, and I'm like, you mean to tell me they're going to be doing both sides of Telegraph at the same time? And then they shut off Wick Road, and then a couple days later, they shut off Goddard Road. Well, now that's an emergent, you know, those are emergency situations, and we need to coordinate this stuff a little better. So luckily, we reached out and stuff, and they were able to leave a little gap on Wick Road, you know, and stuff. They didn't open it through, but you know, an ambulance could get through there if necessary and stuff. So, you know, Goddard Road again. I love it anytime we get work done, you know, and stuff. So it's kind of, you know, we've actually got quite a bit, and it's kind of hard to keep track of. I think they're starting the bridge work that they did on the other side.
Right.
So now they're doing southbound. It looks like they're pouring on the 75 connector. So hopefully that, I think they said that might be done by November.
Yeah, I think they feel that it's all going to come together rather quickly here at the end. It's just, I'll tell you, and I know you share this with me, communication is so important, and when it isn't done, and usually, MDOT, Wayne County, they're all on top of this stuff.
Well,
they usually
what
are.
it is, too, is the other thing is these companies, cement and asphalt, weather dictates on when they can do things. So sometimes if they get done early, boom, they want to jump to the next one.
Right.
I'll share this story with you. I had a resident complaint the other day, and it was a legit complaint. And I even sent an email apologizing. But it was cement related, and basically we need to give residents a few days notice of, hey, we're going to tear the cement out behind your driveway. And that didn't happen, and that needs to happen. But these guys get so, hey, we got to get on to the next, we got to get it all done because we have short summers here for the most part, or they're trying to get as much work in as possible and stuff. And I think that happens at the state, level and anything. So we try to get done, so what we were going to do, just to change things up, we were going to do Holland Road, but now we have a possible business wanting to buy the corner of Holland and Wick Road. So what we decided is if this business does buy this piece of property, we may have to do some different design towards the end of Wick and Holland.
Okay.
So at that time, we decided to shelf that project, and we decided to do the other part of Superior between Pardee and Racco.
Right.
Now, we would love, and we need to, believe me, we know that Racco needs to be redone between North Line and Eureka. But there's no way we can do that right now with Eureka getting ready to be done through that area, because that's going to cut that, and we got Christmas coming up and stuff. So that's down the line, but we just cannot do Racco Road right now with all that construction going down around there, because literally the mall's going to, take the brunt of it, and even the mattress mattress place and Motif Jewelry, they're kind of in a tough spot there, and it's going to hurt their business a little bit. But I talked to Eric from Motif, and they're happy to see it happening and stuff. They're concerned a little bit, but there's going to be ways to getting into their business. But like them, I think you might be able to get into from Eureka, but not from Racco.
Oh boy!
But then you can get into Kohl's from Racco, but not Eureka. So it's going to be there's going to be people are going to have to learn a little bit. But to me, if you come in off Pardee, you're good to go.
Well, after all of that, I'll throw this at you. What about the pushback we get on the Eureka Way signs?
Okay. Well, as you can see, the story on that right now is literally we are still waiting on insurance. And as people might notice, my patience got very thin because I got tired of seeing the one blue, some people make tweezers, some
tweezers,
people call it tuss, some people,
yeah.
Different things. But the one was just laying there forever, and I got tired of seeing it, and I basically just made a simple call, and I said, Ralph Richard, our DPW director, I said, Ralph, do we have anything that could lift that up and we could store it down there? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure we could, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, let me check on this or whatever. Well, my DPW director, being the type of person he is, I literally, the next day I was down in that area and I drove by.
And it was gone.
And it was gone.
That's Ralph.
So I immediately grabbed the phone and I'm like, did you? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I haven't checked. He's like, I knew what you meant, and I'm like, well, and I can't say a smile didn't come across my face because I love, people being proactive and stuff. So we are still in the process. So the crazy thing is that I was considering doing something different on that side.
Right.
But what I'm being told is it might be more expensive to not do the replacement of the way it is than
versus to try and recreate it.
Which is kind of odd to me. So because we would possibly lose money or something.
Okay.
But it might go back to the way it was this time.
Okay, all right.
But, you know, we'll see if it gets hit again, then we'll have to look at something possibly.
It's amazing when you get into that, because I think so many people who've been critical of this, it's all about they don't like the look of the sign. Yet, I think there are people on the other side who created the sign, all of that. They didn't create a sign they didn't like, okay? And there was a thought process. I mean, it's linked to the Blue Bridge over, 94 over Telegraph and all of those things. I get it. I know you and I had a discussion on the secondary sign, which is more toward Allen Road in the median.
That's what I wanted to mimic.
I like that sign a lot better,
well, that's
too.
what I wanted to mimic on that side.
Right,
And
right.
then if the other side, the north side got hit and
Right.
taken out, we would do something similar on that
Right,
side. So something a little smaller, not so dramatic.
Right.
Talking about the Blue Bridge, I have met with MDOT as well, because they're starting to get some wear spots on that Blue Bridge,
Yeah.
and it's almost looking like it's leopard skin somewhat, with these circle spots that are wearing and stuff. So they are looking into that, because I'm trying to get it repainted or sealed or whatever.
Which would be really nice, because quite frankly, it's a very pretty bridge.
It is, it's definitely, it's the gateway to Detroit,
Right,
and,
right.
but it's definitely a focal point, and it's starting to look a little weathered, in my opinion. And what I'm saying is, if that seal is starting to erode, that can start affecting the structure itself.
Sure.
So that's one of the things, and when I met with them, they all seem to agree. So hopefully we can get some paint on that, or get it resealed looking proper again.
Well, we're right here in August, and it's been very nice out the last couple days, but it's been, like you said earlier, very hot this summer. Police have been targeting enforcement of speeding on residential streets around Taylor. I have to believe some of this has to do with a lot of the detours and a lot of the movement along that. But what's your take? Because I know we've gotten a lot of speeding complaints along Morton View, especially. That's a kind of a drag. What do you make of all that? People need to slow down.
Well, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're legit complaints. Carl, it's everywhere. It's not just Taylor. It's everywhere. People are in a hurry, no matter where they go. People just half the time don't even stop at stop signs anymore. Yeah. Everybody seems to be running late. And I live on Champaign, and my street's a dragway sometimes. It's just, it amazes me. People just are not respectful to others anymore, and talking about I said the other day, I like my rock, I like my heavy metal music. When I'm in the car, I like to listen to it loud. But you know what? I'm respectful enough to where if I pull up to a red light and my windows are down, I'm going to turn it down, because the person next to me on this side and that side don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that anymore, and I can tell you, I have people on motorcycles that'll pull into the neighborhood at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with their radios blaring so loud that it literally wakes you up, and it's like, I get it, you're on a motorcycle, you might not, but when you turn in the neighborhood, turn it down.
Yeah, turn it down a hair.
But what we try to do is, we do take, if people are calling and stuff, like the police do create a list, and they kind of try to, they will hit areas and stuff if we get complaints and stuff. And we'll target that area for a little bit at a time and stuff. So we were getting quite a few calls on Morton View, and as you can see, it was even in the newspaper. We hit it hard over there and stuff. So we're trying to crack down, but we can't be everywhere all the time. We've tried to crack down the best we can on four-wheelers and mini bikes and everything and stuff. By the end of this year, our police department will be full for the first time in decades. Really looking forward to that. So hopefully that'll get even more officers in the neighborhoods and stuff. But people say there's no police in the neighborhoods anymore. That's just not true. Are they doing traffic control so much in the neighborhoods? No, but they are patrolling the neighborhoods, and stuff. So, I've done ride-alongs where, a lot of times they're in there during the night and stuff.
Sure.
But, I can also look at GPS printouts and stuff sometimes to see that they are driving through those neighborhoods and stuff. But, people just need to slow down. That's the biggest thing, and it's just the sad part is they're going at high rates of speeds, and half the time they're doing this, and they're doing this, and that's why.
Well, I have to admit, and this was very noticeable to me. My wife and I took a trip to Europe this summer, and if it's one thing that I noticed, especially in the Mediterranean area where we were at, people respected the speed limit a lot more in Europe. I was stunned. Now, it could be because the infrastructure is older, your roadways are a little bit smaller, all of those factors could go into it. But it was very noticeable. And this isn't a Taylor-centric problem.
No.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I drive up and down 275, and at times, if I'm going 80, which is my max, okay, they're not going to pull you over at 80. That's the way I look at it. And people are going by me like I'm standing still.
Yeah, 696 is a launch pad.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's like they're driving rocket ships.
Yeah, it's. I've had other mayors call me. Hey, how are you addressing the the speeding in neighborhoods and everything? And it's like it's just, I
Eventually, it's an individual thing where people have to just get it through their heads that they're going to go a little slower. I mean, people who get all
they're going to hurt somebody.
That's
the biggest thing. By the reaction time is just ain't going to be there. Especially in neighborhoods. You get kids running out. Or animals and everything, and it's it's.
And there's nothing worse than that type of accident.
Absolutely.
Mark Kibbe, our economic development director, left for another post. You've promoted Paula Fisher, longtime employee. Paula is one of our favorites around here. What was your take?
Yeah, no. So Mark took another position in Brownstown, and when he came and told me and Dan that he was leaving, I instantly thought, okay, I think Paula's ready for the next step. Dan was off, off on vacation with the Little League World Series. I brought Paula into my office and just said, hey, with Mark leaving, this is, are you going to be able to, hold the fort? And she's been in that position before.
Sure.
And I said, so now that you're in here, do you want to be considered for the, kind of feeling her out a little bit, so to speak? And I said, do you want to be considered for the position? And she's like, well, there's things that I don't, I'm a little unsure about. I said, Paula, there's things I'm unsure about all the time. What do you? I said, you know what? Do me a favor. I said, before you commit to anything, think about it and just let me know tomorrow. If you want to be considered. I said, I'm not promising you anything.
Sure.
And I said, but I think you're ready if you want to put in for it. But again, I'm not promising you anything because if we get somebody that's really qualified or something, but in the back of my mind, and what really impressed me is I came to work the next day, and when I was walking in, she was standing right there, and she's like, "You got a minute?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Yes." I want to be considered. And I said, that's exactly what I wanted to say. And that's when I told her, I said, Paula, you're ready. You're ready for the next step, and I'm glad you're interested, and I said, we put it out, I'll let you know and stuff, and we'll go through the process. And then, I had another kind of talk with her, and, again, I said, well, what are your biggest fears? And she's like, well, there's some things, like I said, I don't necessarily know. And I'm like, I learn things every day.
Sure.
There's still a lot of things I don't know, Paula, especially when I first walked in here.
Right.
And I said, sometimes I think your biggest critic is yourself, and talk to Dan about this. Well, I didn't say that until I offered her the job, but at that point, and then it was a good conversation, and I think it was well deserved, and Paula felt, I could tell she felt very appreciated, and stuff, and. I talked to Dan about it, went over to Little League World Series. Me and him kind of had a sit-down talk and stuff, and he agreed with me 100%, and, went and talked to her, and I said, listen, I think you're your biggest critic sometimes, we believe in you, and you have enough connections and stuff, and I said, hopefully, but you're going to have to hang around me a little bit more because I'm going to take you to DCC meetings. I'm going to introduce you to people there. You're going to go to Aerotropolis meetings with me and stuff. So I'm going to connect you with people that can benefit you. Plus, you have access to Tim Keys. You still have we have a good relationship with Mark Kibbe. You can call Mark if you need him and stuff. So, and I think, and we're happy for her, and she's actually going to go to a class here in the next couple weeks, to kind of like a beginning type thing. But she's been in that department long enough to where, there's not a doubt in our mind that she'll be successful.
Well, it's really nice to be able to, with a long-time Taylor employee, okay, she's done good work literally everywhere she's been.
Yeah.
It's just, elevating the knowledge base to that point.
Yeah.
And like you say, I think people forget that just because somebody leaves or they retire or however it happens, it doesn't mean they're gone. Okay, all you have to do is pick up the phone.
Yeah, a lot of times, with me, especially municipal work, it seems like people bounce around and stuff like that, and but Tim still kind of helps us with things and stuff, and Tim is a wealth of knowledge.
Right,
he is. It still amazes me. Because he's in a lot of meetings we have with different people, different vendors, different investors and stuff. And Tim he teaches me stuff, and
the cool thing about being a part of Team Taylor, and I've been here for 12 years now, is people just don't go away. When you establish that network of work relationships, and they really turn into friendships, okay?
Yeah.
That person leaves. That doesn't mean they appreciate, that phone call of, I'm kind of stuck here. Can you help me?
Right.
And you get that person on the other end they're not mad at you for calling. They're happy.
Yeah.
They want to hear, what's going on. And
I have that. We have like a little mayor network, like I said, I've had mayors like, hey, how are you addressing the speeding problem in your neighborhoods? I picked up the phone and said, hey, how are you handling this or whatever?
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that, and stuff. So, me and Mayor McCray from Romulus, we talk quite a bit, and stuff.
Plenty of good people out there in the world, that's for sure. We're completing the first cycle of the Good to Great Neighborhood program this year. It's been running in various areas of the city since, I believe, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Where will we go from here? Once we're done with these areas and you'll have gone through all of the 38, 39 areas of the city, where do you look? How does the program evolve?
I think we're getting ready to enter the last neighborhood right now.
Okay. Alrighty.
And one of the things I said is I like the fact that it kind of centralizes us in an area. Do I think we would go back to the beginning and start it all over again? I think it would be more of evaluating each area and go by priority there. That's what we're kind of talking about. Again, this is a meeting for me, Dan, Ralph, Lanny, and Sam, to kind of dial in how we want to do this. But, this is where Ralph and Lanny, they kind of head that a little bit, and we want to see what they recommend we do going forward. Because, there's some areas that, just tend to grow a lot quicker than others, and stuff. Yeah. So we kind of want to look at that and figure out how we want to do it.
I know when we were off air, you had mentioned Trash Collection Day, and you wanted a reminder out there. You wanted to talk about the proper placement of trash and recycling containers. Where were you going with that?
So the biggest thing is, and I see this on my street all the time. Like today's my garbage day. So. And I just happened to look out down my street as I was leaving, and probably 80% of the garbage cans are in the street. So I just kind of want to remind everybody that, especially with fall coming up, we have a streets, we maintain our streets pretty good, and we get our street sweepers out there all the time. And street sweepers, their goal is to clean along the curb, especially over the drains and stuff. When we get these big rainfalls, like we got that last big downpour a few days ago and stuff, if people put their cans in the street, we cannot sweep along the curb. So especially with fall coming up, I really need to encourage the residents to put the cans on their grass, or if they don't want to put it on their grass, because I know sometimes when the can is put back down, it can scratch your grass or tear it up a little bit and stuff. I get it. Put it at the end of your driveway. And yes, that might mean you got to move it, pull your car out and move it back. But again, it makes life so much easier for everyone if you don't put it in the street, because it allows us to clean the streets so much more efficiently. And you know, we get a better clean. And we can actually hit the drain covers. Because a lot of times we can't get to the drain covers if all the cans are in the street. And so, you know, just want to remind everybody, because it's almost getting to the point where we're going to have to start addressing that, you know, from an ordinance perspective. And, you know, I think we might even have to put out a mailer on that, because I was kind of driving around on different days and looking at people's garbage, you know, and it just, everybody puts their cans in the street, you know. Wintertime, it's one thing, but, you know, like when we get a snowfall, you know, we can't plow. You know, it's just, it becomes a hindrance, you know, big time. So just want to remind everybody, you know, we're not looking to be jerks. It's not a money grab. It's about cleaning the streets properly, you know, and that's what, just want to remind everybody.
And curbside is extremely important. When you're talking about cleaning the streets, that's what you're talking about cleaning. You know,
absolutely.
It's not the middle of the street.
That's the target zone, and we can't get to it if cans are out along the curb.
Right, exactly. We recently had a couple of grand openings. Main Event, a large entertainment center, opened up in Traders Point, and Brookwood Estates Senior Living opened up in the old Timbers Edge location along Goddard, west of Telegraph. You were at both. What was your impressions?
I actually liked them both. You know, we went to Main Event. That was about a week ago. Very impressive. You know, it was much bigger than I anticipated in there, but it was. I like the concept. You know, I think it was. You know, me and the wife and my son went with us, and his girlfriend, and we kind of just. I think it's a cool place. I mean, there was some games for some old schoolers like us. Me and my wife were playing Space Invaders, you know, and that's one of the originals, you know, and even did a racing game. Watching her trying to play that was funny. But you know, it was a good time. I was really appreciative what they did for the employees, you know, and you know, to see the bowling alley in there, but then they had that other side section for like a private if you wanted to, for a
which
party
was really
or something.
Nice.
The only thing I didn't get to do is I didn't get to go into the laser tag area. I kind of wanted to do that, but I liked how they had, you know, the area with the restaurant and kind of bar, you know, not that I encourage parents to go in and get drunk while their kids are playing, but I think it's a good place where you could maybe take your kids and kind of go in and have a meal and sit down and watch. You know, they got TVs everywhere too and stuff. So I think it's kind of a cool concept, you know, and I thought it was a beautiful building. And I think it was a great place.
It was really well done. And it's very obvious from kind of top to bottom, the employee base bought in. They know what they want. They know what their goals are. They just got to shake out some of the.
I think it's you know their concept is for young kids and parties and everything. I know you know, Kudos had some concerns, but I really think it's two different niches, to be honest with you. I think Kudos is still more for the adult playground, you know, and stuff. You know, more adult driven, and I feel like. Main Event is more for, you know, younger and stuff like that, but you know, adults can go there and bowl or watch a game and stuff like that, and you know, but Kudos has things for younger kids as well and stuff if you wanted to do that, but I think they're two different. There wasn't a whole lot of similarities in either one of them, so I think they both have their unique things and stuff.
Their own niche.
I could see myself still going to both.
Yeah, exactly. What'd you make of Brookwood?
I thought it was pretty nice, actually. You know, we got the tour of that yesterday, and you know, to walk in and see an actual model, I thought it was pretty nice, to be honest with you. They put a lot of those buildings up pretty quick. You know, I didn't realize how quick they were. you know, they still got quite a bit of work to do. And
on the
stuff.
outside,
Yes,
especially.
you know,
yeah.
and but you know, from what I saw, it looked pretty good and stuff. So, you know, I talked with Jesse and stuff. They were able to get a temporary, you know, and stuff like that. So, they still have some work to do before they can start moving anybody in yet.
Sure.
You know, but it looked really nice. It was something in the works and stuff. There was very nice place. That's all. You know, I mean.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of learned after the fact that it was a, you know, a lease place, a rental place and stuff, which that one kind of surprised me a little bit. But that was part of when they got the place that was in there. So normally we don't allow that kind of stuff anymore. But it was a beautiful facility. You know,
it is amazing.
I will say I was impressed.
It's amazing. There is so much need when it comes to senior living, availability, affordability. Affordability is in the eyes of the beholder. Okay.
Well, the thing I thought was really nice too is like they were explaining like you have your own unit, but yet you can go through them to get, you know, you can have food,
right?
You can have cleaning, you
can
know,
have
and everything like that.
Yeah, a lot of different
you know,
things,
it was pretty. Kind of seemed pretty well organized, you know. I mean, they're not, you know. We'll see how everything goes and stuff. But I thought it was a nice place, and I was really impressed with the model that we went into.
Certainly a good start to a direction that's needed.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Yeah.
You know,
I wish you know. I mean, we went into the, you know, just a regular model, and then they said they had actually, you know, handicap models as well. I kind of wish we were able to see one of those, but you know, so.
So we're headed toward the finish line. You got a shout out for any individual or
you know, it was funny. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and you know, and it kind of speaks to what I was talking about earlier. You know, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the Parks and Rec group. You know, they went from, you know, definitely the summer festival right into Junior League World Series and everything, and you know, so they've been busting it too. You
just
know,
had the last family fun day.
You know, and so you see, you know, they're finally getting caught up on work around. You know, they were like, hey, you know, just so, and I get it, you know. So I want to give them a shout real quick, but you know, talking about the blue piece that was picked up and removed and stuff like that, and just the type of person that kind of almost, I think he reads my mind or thinks exactly the way I do, is I'm going to give a shout out to Ralph Richard, our DPW director, because not only the blue sign that was picked up and removed after just a simple question, you know, I'm driving the other day and I go by Walgreens, and the abandoned Walgreens that's on Telegraph right there. Well, there's been a lake sitting in front of that thing. Forever, I mean, it's just not draining properly and everything. And it's private property, but the building's empty and everything like that. And I was just beyond tired of looking at it myself, like what is going on here and stuff like that. So I went by there and it was completely dry and empty. And I instantly knew, I'm like, you know, I'm going to call, because I guarantee you Ralph probably got tired of looking at that and something, you know. So of course I called him and he's like, yeah, you know, I got tired of looking at it, and I had them go over. So what it was is, this is how crazy things can be sometimes. They were trying to figure out like what was causing this. Literally, they have a drain there, and a Solo cup went down the drain and reversed backwards and went down and turned backwards and lodged into the pipe that goes out to the drain on Eureka Road. And that's what was causing that. So we were able to find that and pull it out of there, and now just like that. So, but on some good news is we will be making an announcement that there will be something going into that empty Walgreens,
which is fantastic.
Which is fantastic. I think people will be happy.
So when do you think that announcement will come?
That one's coming pretty soon, probably.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, well, fantastic. Well, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a pleasure as usual. Thanks to Joe Camilleri, Kaylee Guffey behind the scenes. We'll see you on the next episode of From the Mayor's Desk.